Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Lock Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor and Konner, and we got quite the show coming up today. We're going to kick it off with a little Patreon question of the week, go into a bunch of stuff from the European Open. That'll be mainly the show, and then a little Trevor's trivia, and wrap it up with a little power ranking update.
It's about time with them power rankings, huh?
Yes.
I feel like it's been a while.
No, we did
I think we did last week.
Oh, just kidding.
But it is about time. Yeah.
It's been a whole week, dude.
Just itching. Yeah.
I just got signed out of my notes.
Get wrecked.
We're going to start off with a little Patreon question. If you're not sure where these Patreon questions are coming from each and every week, it's from patreon.com. I'm have to pause. Trevor, you tell them where it's from while I type my password. I can't. I was trying to think of my password while I was speaking, and I was just brain jammed. I couldn't type.
Our Patreon question of the week comes from our Heiser Club members. You can go to patreon.com/Foundation Disc Golf and check out the club. You can also sign up for a free trial. So if you want to try all the benefits without paying anything to start, you're welcome to do that. We have a bunch of different tiers. We offer things such as our exclusive content. We do a video for them every month. We do giveaways, contests, all that kind of thing. And then also a big part of it, and our favorite part of it, is the Heiser Club mailbag, which is a exclusive
best part of the week.
Yeah, exclusive weekly podcast we do every Friday where we are asked questions by our Heiser Club members, and we answer every single one of them.
Every one of them.
Every single week.
And we put thought into it.
It's like a friend group at this point.
It
is a friend group. Like, we know their names. They're our buddies.
We should just change their name to the Inner Circle.
It might as well be.
We have very, very much inside jokes with them. We also know the personalities of our Heiser Club members. It's awesome.
And that could be you if you join the Heiser Club today. Anywho, this one came from Sir. Just too much input, man. Not enough output. This one came from Sir Sam Norval. Sorry, Justice Ballard. He had a good stretch.
He did have a
weeks
good
in a
stretch.
row. But
Hey, he's a generous guy. He's willing to give it up. For
I
a week.
liked this question more than the question he asked, unfortunately. So Sam Norval asked, if disc golf was like polo, where the players are on horseback, what animal would you choose to ride?
Do you know
while
something
playing?
I learned about horses the other day?
I would like to give my
Wild
answer
animals.
last.
You know something I learned about horses real quick the other day?
What?
They eat pomegranates, and they, love it.
Really?
That's interesting.
Yeah. I never knew that.
Like the seeds and all, or just
Just
It
the
makes
whole
sense.
thing.
They eat the whole thing. Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, it's like an
Crazy.
apple, I guess.
Yeah, I get it.
Pomegranates and apples are the same fruit, right?
Anyways.
Yeah, basically
I'm not a big
something.
fruit guy.
So
I don't know.
what would I choose to play disc golf on horseback?
What a wild animals preferred.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about this on the podcast because there was a lot of different schools of thought.
I'm sticking with mine.
We
I'm sticking with
tried.
mine as well, but I'd like to go last.
We tried throwing.
Okay.
We tried throwing discs out of a ATV once, moving pretty fast, and that was kind of difficult. But you did get extra distance without having to try very hard.
Yeah.
So I did like that advantage, and I think you could get used to it. Yeah, I think you said. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter. You say yours. I'm trying to remember mine.
I can go with mine if you want.
Okay, you go with
All right,
yours.
I'm just gonna go and go. I think that mine is the trump card. Okay, I don't feel like it can be beat in my personal opinion. My answer is an elephant, and the reason being is that I think that I would have a distinct advantage over everyone because on an elephant's back, I could just have it stand still and I could do a complete X-step run.
Do you believe that though?
I believe that.
I
You
don't.
know that's not true.
Yeah.
If you can do,
You would fall off an elephant.
It's
Trying to do
the
an
back
exit.
is arched.
Yeah.
but still, I mean, it's just like you don't.
It's
have
also
perfect,
not the size of a
You don't
teapot.
have perfect footing, but you can still do like a run.
you might. I can't say you
You can
wouldn't be
stand
able
still.
to. You might be able to.
I feel like
honestly
I'd have
no
better
idea.
accuracy than everyone else. And also, as soon as we get close to the circle, I just climb down that trunk, and I tap
Can
that
the
thing
trunk
in.
hold you?
Yes.
You
Have
can
not-
walk down it?
Yeah, that's like a thing that they do
I
at
don't
like
know.
zoos and stuff like that, where they like let you like sit on the trunk and they.
I
pick
How
don't
you
much
up.
weight can an elephant trunk hold? Now I'm curious.
I don't know the answer
I
to
just
that.
know that like literally like it's like a ride you can pay for at the zoo where you like
For
sit on the
kids,
trunk
though,
and,
or
like, picks you up.
adults?
I've seen adults do it.
Okay.
Well, my answer is a cheetah because I feel like you'd be cheating if you were on the back of a cheetah because you're just flying into your run up at 60 miles an hour.
I'm just saying if we're
The trunk?
asking whether or not a trunk can hold you, we got to ask whether or not a cheetah can hold you on its back and still run 60 miles an hour.
Okay, maybe 40.
I don't think it
A
can barely
trunk
run if you're on its back.
can hold 3% of its own body weight.
Holy crap!
So that is
So
a
it's
ton.
like 300 pounds.
Because they weigh about 1,000 pounds. They weigh is that
I
a
don't know,
ton?
1,000
I think they
pounds
usually
would be
weigh.
300 pounds.
I think they typically weigh 2 tons. Is what I've heard.
So 2,000
But look,
pounds.
you can look it up though.
Is a ton 1,000 pounds?
I believe
We
so.
should
A
stop talking.
A ton
We're
is
going to look
1,000
stupid.
pounds. A ton is 1,000
We're
pounds.
backing ourselves into
So
a
if they
corner
weigh
where we don't know
2,000
too much.
2,000 pounds. What's 3% of 2,000?
Wait, is a ton
600.
I think a ton might be 2,000 pounds.
No, 3%, not 30%.
I've never felt
3%
so
of
stupid in my
2,000.
life.
It's not 600.
That's only 60. That's
Yeah.
not right.
Right, so that's not that good. Come on, guys.
Are we sure 3? This is why we shouldn't get into these situations. Now we're just showing how dumb we are, everyone.
I know we've made a mistake.
60,
a ton
60
is 2,000 pounds. A ton is 2,000 pounds.
So they can only hold 120 pounds, Konner, if they're 2 tons.
Well, my elephant's really strong.
But for the course of a whole round?
Okay, fine. I won't get on its trunk. I still stand by it. But a cheetah, you're going to squash a cheetah. I don't believe a cheetah can
No,
run.
I don't think so.
How much can a cheetah carry?
And you're not going to be able to stay on a cheetah's back. Their backs are so slender, and they're like shoulder blades move
I'm locked
around.
in.
I think I'm gonna go with.
I think that's very
I'm gonna
unrealistic,
choose
Hunter. I think you
horse.
need to wake up.
Cheetahs are 160 pounds. You think it can't hold me on its back?
Yeah, I don't think a cheetah can.
I can get on my dog's back, and she's only 90.
Can you? Can
I
you
don't
get
know.
on your dog's back?
I haven't tried it, but she told me. I feel it.
I'm going with a horse.
You think you're doing an X step on an elephant? Really?
Yes, I think I can.
Horses are dumb.
What's like the more wild version of a horse? Actually,
wild
give me
horse?
a tiger.
Zebra.
I'm gonna do a tiger.
I can't argue with that. That's a good.
Yeah,
One.
I think it'd be hard to stay on its back, but I think it'd be fun.
It'd be fun. Yeah. I'll go with a tiger.
All right, Trevor wins. We're going to the European Open.
That look cool.
Why didn't no one say lion?
I would
the European Open?
I would scare the crap out of all my card mates. They would just run away. And
You're
DNF.
right.
Well, what
They would
actually
be
happened is
afraid.
probably all the animals would start fighting.
Actually, give me like a hyena.
And I'd be no.
Something ugly.
Hyenas are scary.
Yeah.
The European Open went down this past weekend, and it was electric. We'll start with FPO. FPO wasn't electric.
FPO was not electric.
FPO was over after round 1. Kristin Tatar.
Quite literally. We're not even exaggerating.
No, it was literally over after round 1. Kristin
So
Tatar
funny.
is the greatest skill-wise player, FPO player, to ever grace the face of the planet. That's my take. That's my statement.
It's a take.
I don't think anyone can argue with it personally. I think that she doesn't have the accolades yet. She could easily get them, I think. Because yes, she's 31,
Something like that.
But
31, 32.
She can maintain this for 2 or 3 more years,
at
and
least.
she's got most of the accolades everyone else has.
She should be able to play because like she's not the only. She's known for things other than her distance anyway. So Kristin Tatar could be playing this way until she's 40 because she takes it seriously. If you take your health and body seriously, and all I've ever heard is that she's super professional with that kind of thing. Is like she could play this way till she's 40.
So in case you didn't pay attention to what happened, she won this tournament by 16 strokes. She was the only FPO player under par. She shot 11 under for the tournament. Heidi Lane, I believe is how you say her name, came in second place at 5 over for the tournament.
It's probably Lane.
Probably. And then Katrina Allen and Missy
Finish.
Gannon tied for third at 6 over for the tournament. So basically there was the Kristin Tatar field, and then there was the FPO field after.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
That is
also
crazy.
on the pro, like she was just so in control out there that like there was never a moment that you like thought. There was never a moment I thought like, well, if she messes up in tomorrow's round,
The
it was
lead
like
was
I think
just
if she
so
messed up in
big.
tomorrow's round, she'd probably still extend her lead. Like at one point, I think was it round 2 that she didn't play so hot. No, round 2 she played great. Round 3 she played like not that good. She shot even par, and
like tied for
she
hot.
extended her lead by 1, but tied for hot. Like Heidi Line shot even as well. So did Ella Hansen. But at that time, I believe it was Katrina Allen that was like in second pushing with her, and she beat her by 1 that round. So like her overall lead from first to second grew. And then round 4, she shot even, which this on the Pro Tour coverage, on the Disc Golf Network coverage, they said this stat, which is a wild stat. This final round, she tied the hot round with a birdie on 18 again, making it 10 consecutive hot rounds at a major. So in case you're not aware of that, that means she's went wire to wire at this major, wire to wire at Champions Cup, and had the 2 final hot rounds at Worlds, which she's won all 3. She also just completed the Kristin Grand Slam, her career Grand Slam, and she's poised to do the Grand Slam this season.
She should do this
as well, but she has a career Grand Slam. She's now won U.S. Women's, I believe it was in 2019, Worlds last year, Champions Cup, European Open. She's also won Worlds, Champions Cup, European Open all in a row.
So dominant.
So she currently holds 3 of the 4 titles. If she wins U.S. Women's as well, which is U.S. Women's post-Worlds, I think it is. So she'd have to win Worlds again and then U.S. Women's. She'd have to do the Grand Slam this year to hold all 4 titles at the same time. It's
probable.
It's probable.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I would say
it's likely.
She's
I would
9
say
for
there's a
14 on the year now.
75% chance, maybe 80% chance that she gets the Grand Slam this year.
Yeah.
Right
well,
now.
her win percentage right now, like I said, 9 for 14. So is very.
You want to
good.
put anything on if she doesn't?
No.
I'll put a Pure in my bag.
Just for funsies?
And if she does, I'll put a Pure in my bag.
man.
Sounds good. I love it.
Kristin Tatar.
Wow.
Yeah.
The suspense.
This is a tough weekend to be anybody else in the FPO field and be like, man, Kristin Tatar is that much better.
Yeah, well, that's one thing.
It's tough scenes.
It's one thing when like if you lose by across the course of four rounds, you lose by like 6. And you're like, okay, well, I can go out there and I can think through where I can gain like 2 strokes a round.
Tough to find 16 shots
like,
out there.
Like to find 4 strokes a round and like that is like a hard thing to think through and be like, I got to find 4 strokes a round. And not just like I find 4, like I feel like they're some of these players probably felt like they played pretty solid and lost by 15, 16.
It's like with like debt, like you just got to make it sound better by stretching it out. So it's like you just got to find 2 strokes every 9 holes. You just got to find one stroke every 4.5 holes.
Yeah, that's easy to do when you put it that way.
You got to find half a stroke every 2.25 holes. That's not
just
that
like
bad.
a made putt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. Kristin's not that good.
Yeah.
Why don't you stretch it out like that? Kristin's not even that impressive when you stretch it like that.
It's crazy because Kristin is obviously very good. Like you don't,
yes.
But she's not doing anything that complicated. She's just making
she's
putts.
Just not messing
putting
up.
was really good, especially C2 putting. Mm-hmm. And she's getting it to her C2 and reg was good, which we always, if you've got good putting percentages and your C2 and reg is good, you're going to win a lot of times. And then like just not throwing OB a ton. It's very simple things and combining them all. And that leads to a lot of success in FPO right now because Kristin Tatar is just so well-rounded and that's just getting it done. And man, I mean, it is like, it's a shame to some extent. Like it's cool to watch when a player is dominant like that, but it's at the same time, it's like, who is going to turn on their TV and watch that? Like it was like, it's a little bit of a shame that like the major championship was over after 1 round.
It was a shame for the major for sure.
But
I think the dominance
sick.
The dominance across the season, I think is good for the growth of a division because it's similar to Paul in 2015 and 2016. Like I feel like a dominant stretch by a player is good for the growth of the sport, the growth of a division over a certain period of time because
it's good to have that star player.
It starts where like. Because now if you get to a tournament where Kristin's in second or third, everyone wants to tune in because it's like, is someone actually going to beat her?
Yeah.
Or can't she make the comeback? Which if she's down by 3 strokes or more,
my
no
thing
is
is,
the answer at this point.
I'm pretty sure I've yet to see Kristin playing well and lose. Like that's where I.
But the same that's similar
like,
to Paul in 2015 and even like 2016. Like when Paul lost, most of the time he wasn't playing great. Like, I feel like it's a very similar thing. The only difference is Paul at least had Rick. Kristin doesn't have one singular competitor. She has, like, certain players will have their weekends. Yeah. Like, Haley King on the right weekend can beat Kristin.
Sure.
Kat Mertz we've seen. Sayananda, Katrina Allen. Paige Pierce, unfortunately, is going to be out for the rest of the year, but her on the right weekend. Like, there's players on the right weekend, but none of them are consistently up there, which, like, that's what we at least had during the Ricky Paul era, like the 2014 to 2018-ish era, is, like, those two, week in and week out, you had a battle up top. This is, like, Kristin, and I hope someone shows up.
Yeah, well, and it becomes, once you get this much momentum, too, as Kristin Tatar, it's so hard to stop her. She's won $55,000 this year.
Yeah. That's insane.
Okay, and like FPO.
What's
purses,
the MPO?
Cash leader?
Like, what's the
It would probably.
I think I can find that
Calvin
on the
for sure.
Events.
Well, it might not be Calvin because he hasn't won a major, so he might.
I think I can find it in player statistics.
But who's won the other majors? It would be Calvin. Calvin should
the
be
2023 cash leader so far is Gannon Burr now, 55,543, and then Kristin Tatar's in second at 55,490, and then Calvin's at 52,415.
Yeah, which hey, shout out to Disc Golf Purses. That's really that's just winnings.
But per event, Kristin's winning because Gannon's played 6 more events.
Yeah. Kristin, and like imagine with her performance bonuses too. Like it's crazy. It's insane. And then like those purses have come a long way, but winning $55,000 and we're halfway through the season is like absolutely nuts.
I mean, that was let's just take a look at Paul's 2015. I think it was like $70,000.
I think he won $72,000 for the whole year.
And that was like he finished off podium once. Let me just search it this way. He finished off podium once and won all 4 majors. Like, he did everything. $72,000.
Why do I know that?
I don't know, but $72,000, and the dude only lost, I think it's 6 times, if I remember correctly. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. One of them was a C tier to start the year. That's funny. He came third at a C tier to begin the year, but only lost 6 times. Never finished off the podium. So
Kristin
basically,
will probably
a better season than Kristin's having.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy, but only $72,000. Kristin is on pace for like 100 something.
Yeah, Kristin will probably continue setting the cash winnings record every year as the purses go up. I mean, it's just like I was looking to her lowest cash this year was $1,300. Like, knowing you're showing up to every event and bringing home at least $1,000 is like
that's pretty dope.
That's pretty dope.
Pretty sick.
That's pretty awesome for disc golf.
Well, it's also wild. Like, there's no other sport on the face of the planet where the cash leader, or like the player who makes the most money, is in the FPO division or in the like WNBA or the. I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean,
that sounds right.
Trying to think
yeah,
through.
I mean, I don't.
I mean, I know closest would probably be if Serena Williams was dominant in tennis, but that probably still wasn't close because that should have been during Federer or Nadal.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very hard to look that up, but I don't know that it's pretty unprecedented to have somebody winning this. I don't know. There's probably an example somewhere out there, but it is pretty
Either
crazy.
Way, it's a huge win for disc golf.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that should get, as the season goes on, I'm sure it'll get some type of notoriety outside as well. But that was the FPO storyline. I mean, we can look down the leaderboard and talk about others if we want, but it was Kristin Tatar's weekend, and everyone else was there just to cheer her on, basically.
Can I ask you a question really quick?
You sure can.
All right, this might be. It doesn't matter. So Kristin Tatar obviously is becoming a very desirable sponsored player this year. So there'll probably be some sort of bidding war on her behalf for next season. Do you think there's any chance?
I think she's locked up.
Oh yeah, what's her?
You signed 4 years. Either a year or 2
signed,
ago.
Yeah.
But we know that doesn't mean anything in disc golf anymore. Just kidding.
She signed the Kona deal before Kona, so she was locked up for $500,000 across 4 years.
There's definitely going to need to be some kind of renegotiation there, though.
Yeah, it depends what's in her contract.
True, but I would guarantee she's worth more now than she was when she signed the contract.
I don't know about that. She signed the contract like while this start, like during dominance.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that the amount of money that she's getting
it's
paid,
a guaranteed $500,000.
Right. I think the amount of money she's getting paid was based on them figuring she was going to dominate the next few years. I mean, it's a ton of money.
I will say we sell. I'm pretty sure this is true. I think we sell Kristin Tatar discs faster than Ricky discs.
Dang.
At our online store.
Yeah, Kristin discs move. I mean, Kristin's a big deal. I would now I will say if she has some kind of renegotiation clause, then
well, they do a really good job with the Kristin discs. They look really good.
Kristin already had a contract for 2022. New deal take effective immediately. Means she'll big events in 2022. So she signed this going into 2022. So we're in year 2 of her 4-year deal right now. So she's locked in for the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, if she keeps this going, she'll probably get a retirement type deal at the end of this deal.
Okay.
Like maybe we might see like a 5-year something crazy amount of money. But well, yeah, Latitude got a good one there.
Well, the question too is like, with the disc golf market that we've seen, the disc golf market exploded and has now come down and has kind of leveled. A lot of the $1 million a year contracts we saw, and the Kona Panis and the Kristin Tatar deal were all in that explosion. Mm-hmm. We're now down to a level.
We are going to learn a lot based on what Gannon gets.
Our player's worth $1 million a year anymore.
We're going to learn a ton based on what Gannon. I'm sure we probably will never know.
The thing is, Simon, if you're not signing someone to $1 million a year,
now Simon got a deal post the boom.
But Simon is a YouTube personality.
Yeah, he is a bit of an anomaly, and MVP has benefited greatly from that.
Yeah, Simon is a very much.
Simon's
a unique one.
It wouldn't surprise me if Gannon.
But if I'm a company and I don't sign someone for $1 million a year, I'm not publishing the number.
Yeah. I don't think
because you don't want a chance of signing Gannon to $650 a year, $700,000 a year, and getting negative press for it because you didn't sign him to $1 million.
Yeah, it's also tough to know. It's tough to know what. I think a lot of people in disc golf probably have a false idea of what a good value for a disc golf. Because realistically, if you're getting 6 figures guaranteed, no matter who you are in disc golf right now,
that's a good deal.
It's a good deal. Just take that deal.
Yeah,
because that is.
I think the only,
amazing,
in my opinion, the only two players that were worth $1 million when they signed it was Paul and Simon.
Yeah. No,
I think those two are worth it. I don't think Konner was worth $500K.
I don't know that Paul is worth $1 million over 10 years.
Konner $500K.
Well, I think the
total value of the deal.
I think they made so much so quickly early that they probably already covered it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you still have to think the Zeus, the Onyx, the Malta, like the Luna, I feel like lost a little steam, but the Hades, the Zeus, like his other line.
I'm sure they're not gonna lose sleep over that deal. But
No.
Simon's
all the
deal,
6 times stuff, man, flew off the
although
shelf.
I will say, Simon needs to win some more tournaments.
Simon does need to win.
He
some
does.
more.
I want to. Yeah.
But that's a good thing with Simon is his value's off the course.
Yeah,
like
that's
his value is on the course, but the dude's still moving plastic whether he's playing well or not.
Yeah.
MVP's a wagon.
But I mean, realistically, when Kristin signed her deal, it was mid dominance, but it was before her last season and before this season. She probably wasn't worth $500K.
No,
it was probably a risky
think,
deal. She's worth it now, but when she signed it, I don't know if she was worth it. And like Konner, Ricky, I don't think they were worth the deal they got. I think it was a pressure of the market that led to those deals. And so I think that this upcoming offseason, we're going to see a lot of players thinking they're worth numbers they're not because the market's adjusted, the market's calmed down. It's going to be a fascinating offseason.
It will be.
There's a lot of players, I think, I could be wrong, either this offseason or next offseason, a lot of players are up. On the MPO side, though, I don't think anyone would have or could have predicted this top 3. We had Ezra Aderhold in 3rd, Kyle Klein in 2nd, and Corey Ellis taking down his first ever major championship at the European Open. His first trip to Europe, I believe.
Was it his first Elite Series or better?
Possibly, yeah. I think so.
Last year, he obviously choked
he
away
got
the
himself
MVP.
in position several times. I think he choked away another one, didn't he? D-Glow.
Yeah, D-Glow as well.
I
don't know if he choked D-Glow.
I think he lost in a playoff, didn't he?
But it wasn't as bad as MVP.
MVP was worse. No, he's never won higher than an A tier.
Yeah.
So this is his first Elite Series or major, and he did it at the European
I've got a fun
Open.
fact for you. As I was looking into trivia questions, this didn't become one. It just became a fun fact. Corey Ellis is the first ever player to win their first major at the European Open.
Wow.
Every other player who has won the European Open, it was not their first major.
Is he the first major
crazy.
champion from West Virginia?
Major champion?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of. I don't know way back, but
Yeah, I don't know.
it's a good
Country
chance.
roads take me home.
He did what he had to do out there. He shot a 4-under final round. It was good enough to win by 1 stroke. Kyle Klein gave us very solid effort, shot a 10-under final round, but ended up 1 stroke shy.
That's not his final round.
Oh.
I was like, he shot 10 under the final round.
I was wondering. I was like, how the heck did he do?
He shot 10 under.
All right. Everyone calm down. Corey
calm,
Ellis did
I'm
more than
calm.
what he... I was looking, I was like, I don't remember that being the story. Corey Ellis shot 10 under final round. Kyle Klein shot 10 under final round. Ezra Aderhold 9 under to do what they needed to do to get up into the top 3. I was on round 1 because I was looking at Kristin's scores.
Dude, props on Ezra.
Yeah, dude.
Ezra, a very solid finish. Kyle Klein, I think I was rooting, the hardest for Corey Ellis, Anthony Barella, which we'll talk about in a second, and Ezra Aderhold,
who all played well.
who all played great. Nothing against Kyle. It's just, for some reason, I felt like Kyle had already won a major, but it's not true.
No.
He just lost in the playoff at USDGC.
Yeah. Everybody near the top of the leaderboard,
Except for Eagle.
played a pretty. I mean, Eagle shot 8 under.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it had.
No,
was
but I'm saying
in contention for the first major.
it was a very good finish because there were so many people in it down the stretch, and they were all playing really well. The wind was down that final day, which made the course really attackable, and guys were just throwing darts. Like
Pretty much all of them that were fighting for it were fighting for their first major. Eagle was the only one that was in the mix that wasn't, because Calvin Heinberg had the lead. We'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to him.
But let's talk about Anthony Barella first. So Anthony Barella ended up in 7th place. But he was in control of this tournament going into hole 16. Yeah. He had, I believe, a 2-stroke lead, if I'm not mistaken. One shot lead going into 16. But with the finish of 16, 17, 18, he was in the driver's seat because there's tough finishing holes. A lot can go wrong. And if you go par, chances are you're going to take it.
It was definitely the biggest hurdle.
And he threw a good drive on 16. He was a little pinched off, but he got way down there. Just a forehand onto the green. And then my man threw, I believe, 5 shots.
I think it was 6.
6 shots, 5 deep, 1 left. 5 deep of the green. And this is a hole, so it's not OB. If you do that, you don't progress. You just rethrow. So it's just a bunker rule, very unique rule. You just rethrow, no stroke penalty until you're safe. And so first one, he just juiced, which that's very understandable, adrenaline.
Yeah.
He pumped it deep. Second one, no adjustment. Basically landed on top of his last disc. The third one, I believe, was the one that he yanked left. So that one, adjustment on the distance.
It went left and it still went long. It went into the crowd.
Was that the one that went in the crowd or the next one going in the crowd?
It was the third one, I think, that went into the crowd.
Okay, so never mind. No adjustment on distance either. Fourth one, long. I believe by the score, he took an 8.
Yeah, he took an 8.
So one into the fairway, long left, long. Yeah, it was 6 shots. Finally on the green on his
almost
sixth.
long.
Almost long.
Curled back in.
On the green, made his putt for an 8. His tournament's over. Right there. He was out of it.
Was
because Corey Ellis, every other day, I believe, had laid up for the 4. And he was in a solid position and watched this happen in front of him.
Yeah.
So you just watched a guy go long, parked.
AB.
And then Corey Ellis stepped up and clutched up and was like, I need to put my foot on the gas. This is my chance. And he parked it. Backhand hyzer, just straight under the green.
Yeah, he was in such better. I mean, AB's drive put him in a spot where he was further back than he needed to be, and he had to go forehand, which wasn't a big problem because forehand was a preferred play.
He definitely had the distance.
But he was just further back. He was like literally as far back as you could be because he was hugging like the right OB. And it's so tough because like AB, his putting was so good this whole tournament. He was like 92% C1X and like 40% C2 or something. It was some crazy C2 percentage as well. He was banging putts and he didn't look shaky. You knew that this was going to be like the toughest part of the round. There's a reason that this and USDGC are so tough to like win as your first major because you're going to have to get past a hole that just is evil. And yeah, I mean, obviously the first time he misses the island, it's not even a big deal. He was in the lead, and now he has a chance to get up and down for par. Yeah. Even the second time, not the end of the world. You can still win this tournament. Third time, you still got a little chance. Like it literally was so heartbreaking, and it just like couldn't make the adjustment. Now that green front to back is so skinny, but the problem was the deepest point is more right and like to where the basket is. He was kind of fading in left of the basket. Like it's almost like you had to like try and dump it. And I understand on the forehand, it's really tough to get yourself to miss right of the basket. Like you're trying so hard to not let it go early. And he threw a lot of good shots. They were just too long. Like, and he
just missed one short.
Yeah, I mean,
I was watching. I saw the first one go deep, and the second one land on top. But I was like, this third one better hit the hay
and
bales.
It's like
tough. That's where my head was. I was like, I think you're right. I think the third one he pumped into the crowd, which was technically even deeper.
You can even like jump and skip over those hay bales too. Like, you have to. And it's tough when you got all the adrenaline going, like you're juiced, but you've got to disc down or something. Like you can't miss that same way over and over again.
I mean, at some point you run out of discs. You're confident in.
I started thinking, I was like, man, at what point does this guy? Because like he was forced pretty heavily into that forehand, and trying to hit that shot with a backhand turnover is almost impossible because the disc has to get over the hay bale and not go long, which is so difficult. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, is he just going to empty his bag here? Because it was getting bad. It was very tough to watch. Like the last time I've seen something like that it reminded me of like Johnny McRae at USDGC, where
very similar feeling.
Not nearly as big of a lead, but it was painful to the sense it was just like throwing over and over again. But hey, that's the beauty of that hole. And guess what? Corey Ellis, not only did he throw, he was in better position, tossed it under the basket, but then he steps up to 17 and just throws an absolutely gutsy hyzer flip, puts it to like 20 feet.
It came out of his, wow, my voice is cracked. It came out of his hand. I was 100% positive it was OB.
It flipped late.
Like I watched
it. It was dirty.
It came out of his hand. I was like, oh no. Like that's gone. That's gone. And then it just slowly got up. And not only did it get up, it turned a little bit.
It was sick.
Yeah, it was a beautiful shot. And then, 18. 18's a very tricky hole, but it's not super tricky if you have to play for par.
Yeah.
Like it's not it's a very hard hole if you're trying to birdie.
It's hard if you're trying to get to that green.
But if you're going just like placement shot, and then Corey Ellis just had a jump putt up and a stress-free drop in for his win.
Right time, right place. Corey Ellis, he just hung around.
Now, Eagle McMahon, I think, was in a spot where he definitely could have won this event.
Yeah,
what ended up holding him back from really being in it was the double bogey on 3 early in the round. That hurt, and then he had 2 bogeys down the stretch, 15 and 17.
When he took solo lead at one point, and I thought, okay, this is it. Because like at that point, it was like AB was the guy and Kyle Klein, young guns that he was holding off. But Eagle was
always a hole ahead.
Yeah, but I thought, oh, he's going to get it now. And then those 2 bogeys down the stretch, it was very weird because he was throwing so well the whole day.
Yeah.
And he played a good tournament.
But hey, finishing fourth.
But yeah, I thought for sure at that point he was going to get it. Ezra, he was just a little bit too far ahead. Just, he shot 9 under. He played really well. And it just wasn't quite enough. But and similar with Kyle Klein, just wasn't quite enough.
Now, a player that's not true of is Calvin Heinberg.
Yeah. The guy who should have won this tournament is Calvin Heinberg.
He had, a stroke or two strokes, I think, going into the final day.
Yeah, well, he shot 4 under and only lost by 3 with a bad score.
Like, he just had to go to 7 under. He just, the middle stretch, which a lot of people were not really tearing up, but at least getting some birdies, the 7 to 12 stretch, people were at least getting birdies. Eagle got all of them. Calvin was 1 over through that stretch. He got none of them.
So bad.
I think it's time to start asking the questions. Right?
It's tough.
Calvin does get himself into contention a lot. He doesn't always close the door. We've always been in the fan club the mindset of the reason it feels like Calvin can't clutch up is because he's always in those positions. And so he is clutch. He just can't do it every time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I started questioning it this week because this is he's never won a major. He was in the driver's seat. This was a course that realistically should have played completely fine to his game. And he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't get it together. He has all the skill in the world, so it's not a skill gap. It's not a consistency gap. He's one of the most consistent players on tour. It's got to be something between the ears.
Well, I don't think it's that complex. It was a major. He had the lead and he squandered it. I think that's pretty. I still don't think that Calvin is like a choke artist or anything. I think it's fine to agree with the narrative of, he hasn't won a major yet. There is enhanced pressure at majors, and it got to him. That is for sure a thing. That will start to build. That it is really hard to win majors, especially when you haven't won one yet. And for him to be leading, I'm surprised he didn't close it out. I really thought he would this time. And it's not great for him. And at this point in the season, he hasn't won in a while. It started out this season as being Calvin's resume is ridiculous. He's already won twice and a silver, or whatever it was. I think it was twice and 2 elites and a silver. And then, and everything in between is so good. And at this point, he's still rattling off all what did he finish in? Tied for, or what did he get, 5th?
I think he fourth.
Tied fourth. So that's what I'm saying. He's still rattling off all these good finishes, but the wins have slowed down to the point where it'll be a little bit different narrative maybe if this continues. But I don't know. He's been the thing about him is I feel like his game just hasn't even been clicking lately, and he's still finishing pretty well. But being in the lead going into the final round and losing it, that's tough. And I think that's got to be a tough one to swallow. I hope that he is able to get that major out of the way this year. I think he still has a great chance at either of the last 2. But I really thought he was going to close this one out, and he got hunted down by a lot of players. Hunted him down.
Yeah, it wasn't just one guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very. I don't know. I was surprised. The storyline's definitely building. We'll put it that way. Because I don't love him at Worlds this year. I do like him at USDGC. I think he's got a solid chance at USDGC. But, at some point, I believe at this point he's the player that has the most Elite Series wins without a major title of all time or something like that, or maybe of active players. I've just seen that stat thrown up where he has the most Elite Series wins. I think it's 9 or something like that without a major. Maybe it's more.
Well, it has to be. Especially in the Pro Tour era because nobody else has that many wins.
And, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. He definitely needs to get one soon because if he doesn't win one this year, that is the storyline next year. Every major you go into is can Calvin actually do it?
Yeah, once people start catching on to that, it gets harder because now it's it sticks to you.
And the other player that is kind of in a similar narrative, but at least has a few, I believe, 6 majors. Ricky Wysocki, his drought since the 2017 Worlds, I believe was his last major, is continued. He was not able to do it again. He lost by 5 strokes. He got himself back in the mix with an 11 under. I believe it was the hot round, final round. I believe that's true. The course record was set by 2 or 3 different guys this weekend at 12 under. But Ricky shot 11 final round, moved himself up into 6th place. Like I said, 5 strokes off the lead. Didn't do it though. Didn't do it out there. Final storyline, I believe, to cover, unless you have one.
Scroll all the way to the bottom
from the European Open is Paul McBeth DNF'd after 14 holes in the final round due to a shoulder injury. It sounded like it wasn't anything too serious from what Brian Earhart was reporting. It sounded like Paul was, for all intents and purposes, Paul was out of it. No, Paul was out of it after 3 rounds.
He was really almost out of it after 2.
Yeah, after 2, it was like it's going to take some Paul-type stuff to win. But after 3, he was done. And apparently, from what the Disc Golf Network was saying, he went back out to practice some type of shot that he wasn't feeling comfortable with, wasn't feeling good with, and was throwing it a bunch after round 3 and tweaked his shoulder during that, and then came out and played 14 holes of round 4 and then DNF'd basically to prevent further injury. So I don't know if he tweaked something again during he went bogey par to finish. So I don't know if during that stretch he tweaked it farther and was worried about hurting it or what happened that caused the DNF. It doesn't sound like he's too concerned about coming back. So it'll definitely be an interesting storyline to follow. He did, after that DNF, go and hop on Anthony Barella's bag and caddied for AB the rest of it, which, side note, it doesn't matter who does it or anything like that, because I don't mind the idea of players caddying for other players. I don't like the idea of a caddy being able to join mid-round. I always think that's a weird optic thing.
Yeah.
But
I think it's weird.
Neither here nor there.
I feel like it's weird if you're AB and you're winning a major and then you make a change to your.
And then you got Paul in your ear and he's like, throw harder. No, throw it harder.
It didn't. Because I'm trying to see
he
when.
Joined around hole 8 or 9.
Yeah, and AB went from there on was birdie, bogey, par, birdie. It didn't. If you look at the round, you can't point out it's not like Paul hopped on the bag on hole 16.
Yeah.
It's not like that's what happened. So it's not like, I don't think it hurt AB by any means.
It is weird. It is weird.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. We have the off week this week and then Ledgestone the next week, I believe, is how the schedule comes back. It sounds like Paul will be back to 100% back playing by then, but it will be an interesting one to follow to see what happens there. But congrats again to Corey Ellis.
Yeah,
he is a major champion. He finally did it. And he did it on a bigger stage than he had a shot to the previous few times. So,
yeah,
well-deserved champion, played very well out there all weekend long.
That was a big win for him because he had a really good season last year and was starting, in everybody's minds was starting to be okay, Corey Ellis is getting to elite company. He got added to the elite team for Discraft. And it was kind of okay, Corey Ellis is legit. He's gonna win at any time now. That's where he was last year. And then this year he's been up and down. He's had some good finishes, and he's been playing pretty well as of late, but he has had some bad ones as well, and hasn't really been the player maybe we thought he was gonna be. But getting the major win, that'll do it.
Yeah, he only has 1 podium this year at the Portland Open.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best season for him, but this will this turns it right around for you.
His last tournament he played was the Preserve. He came in 41st.
Yeah.
And coming off of that to the European Open.
Talented, very talented. Putts extremely well, has a very controllable throw, and just, got it done. It was very impressive, and he's a good player.
So yeah, that he is. All right. With that being said, it's time to hop over into the fan favorite segment of Trevor's Trivia.
Okay. We got a couple just basic, just typical trivia questions today having to do with the European Open.
Love it.
So you guys can see if you can answer either of them. They're kind of difficult questions. So the first one: when was the last time Paul didn't finish in the top 2 at the European Open, and who won that year?
2023, Corey Ellis.
Ah, nice.
You got it.
I'm gonna say.
Technically, you're right, but
2012, Dave Feldberg.
Wow.
It was Dave Feldberg.
Wow.
2011.
Oh,
dang, Hunter, that was pretty goated though.
So really good answer.
That was pretty sick, Hunter.
Thank
that was
you.
very cool.
Paul wins that thing every year. Okay, other question. When was the last time an FPO player won a major by at least 10 shots?
By at least 10?
Mm-hmm.
2023. I'm just kidding.
By at least 10.
And I'll give you a hint and tell you it was within the last 5 years.
It's got to be Paige Pierce somewhere.
It does feel like that. When would it make the most sense for it to be Paige? 2021?
There was no majors in 2020, right? It didn't have Worlds. Champions Cup wasn't a thing yet. If we go to 2019,
They do USDGC in 2020.
I think they did USDGC, but
I think it was the only major.
I don't know if they did US Women's. Oh, they made Throw Pink Women's a USDGC or a major there in 2020. That was kind of the birth of it, I think. I'm going to go 2019 European Open Paige Pierce.
No. It was the 2021 U.S. Women's Paige Pierce. Won by 13.
Wow.
Dominated. Kristin won Worlds last year by 8.
I got 2021. I feel like I remember doing Grip Locked in 2021 and constantly talking about Paige winning.
I think
so that's why it made sense to me.
Apparently Paige holds the record for largest win at a major of 17 strokes at the European Open. So Kristin was one shy of it.
Dang. That's tough.
Yeah.
Paige better than
Tough
Kristin.
scenes for Kristin.
Final thing about the European Open, I forgot to mention this, but we'll go back into it for a quick second. There were so many spectators out there.
Oh, yeah.
Large amount of people.
It's awesome.
Obviously,
Gallery was awesome.
Obviously, this is the only event that all the pros are at over in Europe, central location. It's a major. That has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. But I did notice general admission to this event is free. The only paid parts are the VIP packages, and they're $50 a day.
Interesting.
So how much of it is the demand and how much of it is free tickets?
Here's what I'll tell you. If the Disc Golf Pro Tour rolled into your local town and your buddies are like, there's this disc golf thing going on, should we go watch it? Like, it's the pros. And they're like, well, how much is it? And if they tell you it's even $30, you're probably not going. But if it's free, you're probably going. Now, obviously, they have
if you're like really into disc golf, it's not gonna make a difference. But if you're like kind of into disc golf, then
or even if you don't know anything about disc golf, you still might go watch it if it's free and you've got nothing to do.
Well, also if you know a lot about disc golf and it costs money, then you might not want to go by yourself, and you can't really convince your buddies to spend.
Now, obviously, there's the balance of like how many ticket sales will they get versus like how can they convert sales if they make it free, like. You need to have vending at every single event and food options and things like that. Like that's where you make your money. But there's always that question of the pricing model. It's like the concession model that some sports teams use, where they make their concessions really cheap and then they sell so much more of it that they end up making more money than people that make them expensive. It's it's cost analysis stuff. Cost analysis stuff.
The European Open, I noticed they had a lot of like this tournament's built out. Like for instance. The commentary booth, it's an actual booth on the 18th green with like a glass wall behind
So nice having them on site.
There's a lot of money at this event. Free general admission. I mean, if I go to an event and it's free, I am more likely to spend money. I'm going to spend money either way.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm going to the let's put it this way. If I'm going to the European Open, and even if I am from Europe, even if it's not tourism for me, and it's the only big event we get all year, I think there is some benefit to that. But even if I was going to a pro tour, if I was going to let's just say if I was going to a disc golf pro tour event, and this is me as a like disc golf consumer who's passionate about it, and it was free to get in. If I'm there for 2 days, I'm going to probably spend $20 to $30 on food and probably another $20 to $50 on souvenirs. Because I'm gonna want a T-shirt that has the event on it, or a disc that has the event on it. Maybe I just buy another disc and I'm gonna buy food. Like, I don't know. I don't know what their average spend is and how well they activate that. But like, if I'm going to an event,
well, but also the sponsorship activation, knowing you're gonna have that many people there, on the grounds.
It's hard to get disc golfs in front of plastic and them not leave.
But I also know that like some events are just ghost towns. So like. They're probably not putting a ton of effort into that, but it's like, cause like I'm thinking of like the pinnacle of disc golf, which is USDGC and like the European Open. Like when I go to USDGC each year, I'm going to buy food there cause I'm going to be there for a while, and I'm going to buy some souvenirs because it's like a keepstake.
Yeah.
So like the European Open, like they should be able to convert on that.
Well, so this is an interesting fact here, because people obviously the argument's always, it's the one time all the pros are in your area.
Okay. Yeah.
In Virginia, the only time pros are in our area is USDGC.
Okay.
Unless we have a pro tour closer.
Tour championship.
Those are the only two. But they're not in Virginia.
In our area.
That's 4 hours away. So Finland, the entire country of Finland, which is where this event is, the entire country's 5.5 million population. Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to go country to state. That would make 5.5 million is the 23rd biggest state in the U.S.
Wow.
So you do have to question of
Wow.
like, how much is it that it's free? Because again, like if there was a pro tour in Richmond, because Virginia has 8 million people, right? If there's a pro tour in Richmond, which Richmond doesn't have the best course for it, but I'm driving 2 hours to it.
Well, flip it this way. What if the entire tour took place in Europe and it only came to the U.S. one time? It doesn't matter where it is. It would be the highest attended event on probably the entire tour. So if you flip it that way.
You ain't got
But I think it does matter where it is.
Yeah, but I mean.
If you put it in the Southeast, absolutely, it's going to be the highest.
But like
event.
you could put it a lot of places and it would still be super well attended, because if it's a one-time thing, and because like if you live in the States, you can think to yourself, oh, well, maybe I'll go out to this one or this one. Like there will be some tour events.
No, I agree that definitely has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when you put it in perspective, they're not pulling from the biggest population. Like even if you combined Norway, Sweden, and Finland,
No, they get a great
they're
conversion.
at 20 million.
I think Europeans,
and like that's smaller than a
I
lot
think
of
Europeans,
states.
like the disc golf population in Finland and in Europe, which is pretty big, are super passionate anyways, and like they love it. And so I don't doubt that they just get a really conversion. I don't know how much of it has to do with the cost of it, and I'm sure that the Pro Tour, I really hope that they continue to push to bigger population centers.
Yeah, no,
for
it
instance,
seems like they are.
I mean, Worlds next year in Lynchburg, and you might say, well, Lynchburg's not that crazy. Well, we're right in the middle of like Charlotte, Raleigh, DC. Like we're so
Knoxville, Bristol.
There's so many like Worlds is going to be. It's when I try to think about how many people are going to be, it's ridiculous. It's like USDGC, which is also around a lot of those places, and it's packed every year. There are a lot of places that the Pro Tour could go to be more strategic, but I would be curious to see like their pricing model, as far as I remember, is really they've tried to like create more add-on things, but they've never really gotten cheaper to go to Pro Tour events.
I think the general admission, every time I've looked at the Pro Tour, I've thought general admission's expensive.
Because like, yeah, like
Because you got to think.
you might be looking at what,
paying it.
$20 a day?
A lot of times, yeah, I think. And again, I'm paying that every time.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to tell my buddies to go and they're not really into disc golf,
because even
they're probably not paying $20
like,
a day.
Even like I think what the Wells Fargo that we went to, what was that, $50 a day? If
it might have been 100, I don't know.
I don't even think it was that. Maybe it was like 80.
I don't know.
Maybe it was like 80.
I'm
a
not
day.
sure.
But
it wasn't crazy.
It wasn't
and
crazy.
what we got for that was a lot more than you get for going.
That's
to a
what I'm
Pro Tour.
saying. Like I don't know. I think their pricing is maybe a little bit out of touch. But
I think it's very much out of touch. In my opinion, I think general admission to a Pro Tour event should max be $10 a day. Max.
Yeah,
I would say $5 a day is where my head's at.
Yeah.
And you got to have concessions. You have to have other ways to make money there. But I think getting people in the door.
Yeah.
Because also, a lot of the sponsorship activation is based on ground attendance, realistically. Because you're gonna see some of it on coverage, but you're not guaranteed.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to be seen with people on the grounds, and it's hard to sell when you're like, we're gonna get 500 people out there. It's like, sick. I'll give you $50. Like that's not. They're charging a heck of a lot more than that. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be hard to keep up pace if you're only drawing a few hundred people at a time.
Yeah, it's such a weird one because if the Pro Tour got within 2 hours of me, it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee that I would go to it. So like, and I love disc golf. Obviously, I'm probably an above average disc golf consumer, but there's a lot of us, and so I feel like if they targeted the right areas, you know, they would get a couple thousand out there every time. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a bubble, but it just feels like they could be getting more people.
Well, it's definitely the population areas they target. Like Vermont at Worlds won't be crazy well attended.
Yeah.
It just won't. Emporia, Kansas, when you remove the AM side, shocker, wasn't that well attended.
It's Kansas.
Like when we were in California,
it was what we thought it was.
When
Kansas.
we were on the West Coast, there's a lot of really densely populated areas on the West Coast. They're far as crap from each other.
Yeah, the East Coast is
We
kind
were
of
driving-
when it comes to population density.
We were
man.
driving, and I was like, I can't imagine driving for this long and not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Like I just never realized it till I got out there how much land there is. There was just miles and miles and miles of land.
You know what's funny? This one guy that I go to church with, he knows me from Foundation, and he came up to me and said that course in Kennewick was his home course.
Oh, really?
What are the odds of that? Like
That's
that random course in
At
Kennewick.
Two Rivers Park.
Yeah, he's like, what do you think of Kennewick? I was like, yeah, it was Kennewick, It was cool out there.
Big old river.
Hunter did not like it, but
Yeah, I did not like Two Rivers Park. Did not go well for me out there. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because when people were talking about it, I was like,
it was loud too. Those fans are great. It was rowdy.
yeah, it every time I was looking, like they'd zoom out. I'm like, how are there so many people?
We have to answer the question, which is a more, and we might talk about this on debate night, but which is a more intimidating shot? 17 at USDGC or 16? Let's say you have a 1-shot lead, something like that, or you're tied for the lead. I think the only
16.
The only
No
thing
doubt.
that makes 16,
You don't progress ever.
well, yes. So let's say because 17 you used to not progress.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
I think
but now you do.
I think
Let's say-
16 technically requires more skill.
Let's say I would 100% agree. So I think 16's green is tougher because there isn't like the bailout on 17 realistically is a pretty big area, especially once you walk on that green. Now the hay bales are higher. I think the wind is more present usually because you have the water right there. But I think the crowd being there on 16, I mean, that hole is skinny. That island is
Yeah.
skinny, and it is horrifying looking at that. I was like, how would you hit that island? Like,
Well, in my opinion, 16 is way tougher in the current standing just because you don't get to progress.
Yeah, 17
If you
now-
bring back 17 where you don't progress,
They should.
17 is harder because you're getting a stroke.
you got a stroke. I think they should just turn 17
True.
into the bunker rule, maybe.
No, because I think that takes away the pressure.
Well, maybe
it's too
Which
short.
hole
hole for
average
that.
is harder?
Maybe you make the.
By like to stroke or to par? To par?
To par.
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe you bring back the bunker rule, but you make the green smaller. Because I do like the idea.
You'd have to make the green so much smaller because it's downhill and so short. I think you just bring back. Why are we making it softer? Just bring
I don't
back
know.
the OB
Yeah.
and don't progress.
Yeah,
you
I
have
agree.
you have the little layup area.
Something.
If you want to jump.
Well, I'm just
putt.
trying to give them some way they'd actually do it. I don't know.
I just make it hard. Make people cry out there.
I agree.
Make them cry.
Hole 16 out there.
That is a great question, though.
Averaged, and this is just the final round. Averaged 0.03 over par. It's basically par.
Okay.
Let me see if I can go USDGC.
It's just pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah.
USDGC
But I think it's
is on
because a
UDisc,
lot
right?
of people would make, even if they miss the island.
Well, a lot of people lay up for par. They just
Yeah.
That is true.
chuck it around.
But even like then, you still got to
2022.
do something.
One of the best moments of my life was whenever we were doing that. We were like doing the practice round with Brody, and he was like, "I just don't get it. This hole isn't that big of a deal. It's super easy. I'm never not missing this hole." And then we were actually in USDGC, and he missed it like twice, and he turned around and he was like, "It's a hard hole."
Let's go round 4.
You. And he aced it in practice,
Course
too.
Yeah.
stats. 17 average 0.24 over par.
Okay.
So
Much-
hole
much more.
17
That
average
seems
harder.
harder.
Those penalty strokes.
Again,
they
though,
add
it's the
up.
OB.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's the OB. But if you're in the lead, I think 16 is scarier because we saw it happen to AB. You
Well,
throw one or two out, like at USDC, you throw a few out. At least you know you're moving forward.
right.
16, you're like
16. It starts
you get to a
haunt
point
you
where
that
you're like,
I'm gonna empty my whole bag.
I can't get there with
Yeah.
the zone. So
what
the heck am I
happens
about
when
to
you
do?
empty your
Yeah.
whole bag? Do we know? Do you get to get your discs
just
back?
DNF.
Yeah, probably.
No,
just
you have the
DNF.
time. This was asked at the PDGA. It was a back end to make that call a while ago.
You get a certain amount of time to go retrieve a disc.
Just the 30 seconds you have to throw.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you'd have to run like Olympic
Somebody,
pace.
somebody could probably bring them back for you.
That is legal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So I'm sure somebody.
what I would do is
Now,
I
here's
missed the
a
island
question.
one time. I'd look back at my caddy and be like, "Hey man, will you go and start walking?"
Here's a
over there?"
question because now this.
what should have happened is Paul should have been on the other side of the green, throwing the disc back to AB.
So that's my question is, obviously it'd be probably negative headspace to be like planning to miss, but what if you're AB and you're like, listen, even if they're not allowed to throw it, like I need you,
I think the caddy could throw it.
but even if he can't, I'm just saying like he could definitely run it back in 30 seconds. So like my question is, if you're AB, you're like, listen, if I miss with my first two, I need you to bring them back to me. I need you to be at the island ready to run. Like, can you imagine? Imagine
you
somebody
imagine
setting that
Paul?
up and the commentators are like, what? Like,
Yeah,
is
but
he
even worse, can you imagine Paul
Yeah, it's
McBeth
Paul.
standing behind
Is
him,
Paul just, like,
grabbing?
is a caddy allowed to get down the fairway like that? Because like imagine if you start setting up your caddy like down
You
fairways
can't-
as a target.
You can't do that because Lisa Fakis left her bag in
Yeah.
fairway once, and Valerie Jenkins back then praised her for it, and everyone tore her apart in the comments because it's against PDGA rules to add the aim point. I forget what the rule technically is, but it's against the rules.
Imagine
to do
you're
it.
paying a guy in the gallery to position himself where you're trying to aim.
Yeah.
Just like
funny.
wear complete neon and stand where I'm trying to throw my shots. Like you planned it out.
What if you
There
did
are
that
a lot
as
of
a
ways to
gallery
cheat at disc
member? I
golf.
just wore a shirt that just said,
Aim
"I'm
here.
100 out from the basket." That's what my shirt said. And I always just everywhere I went, stood
You just become a
near
marker
the
on the
fairway
course.
and just range found until I was 100
fun.
feet
You should
away.
do that
It's what it
USDGC.
is.
We should do that
I'm
at
100% of
USDGC.
that.
It would
fun.
never be right.
We're always like 220 feet out.
Yeah. And just
They
like,
get up there and like, what the heck? You're like, what? You actually believe me?
yeah,
Stupid.
it's just a shirt,
I'm
dude.
wearing a shirt. You
It's
expect
just
me
a
to
shirt,
measure
bro.
everyone?
Yeah, how am I going to do that?
It's a
That's funny.
shirt.
This
dude.
rangefinder is not a rangefinder.
I'm
It
pretty
doesn't
sure you
work.
can't
It's just a
even do
thermos.
that.
You start
This is just a
drinking out of
cake
it.
and just eat.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Let's go over the power rankings real quick. Give some
Hit
updates
'em with
here.
it. About time, dude.
We had so currently as it sits, Calvin Heinberg, Ricky Gannon, Isaac Paul.
Should we do the FPO first because it's going to be really simple?
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, at
FPO,
least we don't have that hanging over our head.
Kristen, Owen, Kat, Missy, Haley.
Let's not change it.
Owen wasn't there. Kristen wins.
Where is Owen coming back?
Haley wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good where it is.
I think we don't. I don't even worry about it for right
Because
now.
Kat and Missy came in third.
Yeah. I don't-
So what are you supposed
I
to do
think we
with
don't
that?
really worry about it for right now.
All right, back to MPO.
There, that was FPO.
Calvin,
That was fun.
Calvin, Ricky Gannon, Isaac Paul, Eagle, Proctor, AB, Simon, Alden Harris.
Pretty good start, to be fair, because all of those guys.
They were all kinda
Simon
up
wasn't
there,
there, but everybody else
sans
did
Paul.
fine.
Do we get a little hip hop by Ezra?
Paul struggled prior to the injury.
Oh, did we bounce? We bounced Ezra last time, so
Yeah.
we might have to bounce him back in because Alden took like 40th, I want to say, or he didn't, or maybe like 20th. But we bounced Ezra
19th. Alden Harris came in 19th.
I think we slide Ezra back into that slot
And bump.
and bump Alden because they've been kind of bouncing back and forth.
Ezra,
And
Adrian,
Ezra
Hold.
did play really well.
AB, I think's fine in 8th.
He probably could maybe jump Proctor.
Proctor.
Just out of principle, should we probably just bring him back down? I'm just kidding.
Proctor came in 23rd.
We could probably slide him up one over
So
Proctor.
just flip them to
Yeah.
flip those two.
He almost won a major, kind of.
Well, he came in 7th.
That's tough, man. Tough to.
At least he didn't fall outside the top 10.
Like he lost probably a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
Tough. Isaac
Eagle.
ended up doing okay. Eagle,
I think Eagle can probably jump Paul.
yeah. I respect that.
I found it very interesting earlier whenever you were talking about Eagle and you were like, he's got to look out for those young guns or whatever. And it was so funny to me to think about Eagle. Like,
Eagle's not a young gun
He is
anymore.
technically
He's like
young,
20. He's
but
27.
just because of how
26 or
crazy the
27.
sport has gotten with young guns in the sport. He's
Yeah,
just not
I think
a
he was
young gun
born in
anymore.
'97.
I think he's my age. I think he's 26.
Yeah, he's.
Is he?
Yeah,
I think he's either my age or a year
26
younger.
or 27. No,
No, I think he's either 25 or 26.
Yeah.
I don't think he's 25.
He might be a year younger than me.
I
which
think
make him
he's born.
25.
I think
I'm
he's born in
26.
97.
Yes,
So I think he's 26. You should be able to find it on Wikipedia.
25.
He's born in
98.
98.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm
That's
pretty
what
sure
I
he's a year
thought.
younger than
I
me.
didn't think
Really?
he was older
Yeah, he's
than me.
25.
Okay.
That's not. You're not young anymore when you're 25.
Yeah.
I mean, in the
You're in your
sports, in the
mid-20s.
sports world, he's definitely
He's
still
in his
young.
prime
But he's
right
not
now.
a young gun.
But he's not a younger.
You're not
Yeah,
a young
yeah,
gun.
yeah.
Like he's not
He's
a young guy.
guy, not a young
He
gun.
is still a young but he's an established.
He's in his
talent.
prime right now.
Young
He's a
gun
young
is
guy that
yeah.
owns a gun.
You can't. You're only a young gun if in disc golf you got to be like 23 and under. Realistically, maybe 22 and under to be
Yeah.
a young gun. Like Carter
Probably
Aaron's
17.
young gun. Gannon still a young gun.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have Calvin, Ricky, Gannon,
Gotta be decided on that.
Isaac, Ezra, Paul, AB. Holy God.
No, got him.
James Proctor, Simon, Ezra.
Does Corey get any love for winning a major?
No.
We might have to.
We can go Corey versus Ezra.
Yeah, I
but
say we
Corey hasn't
probably-
had the greatest season.
It is tough though. He
Like
did
he just came
win
in
a major.
41st
He did.
the week before that, and he came in 53rd at the last major.
But he did just win a major. It might warrant a 10th place no matter what. I don't know.
I know we're just handing out.
Well, I
Places
don't
like
really
that.
know what these power rankings stand for anymore, so I know we just kind of go off of our gut. But
It's because Paul McBeth DNFs and jumps. This is why these exist. Paul McBeth DNFs and jumps Ricky Wysocki, who came in 6th. And so Paul's now the second best player in the
that
world.
is so
That's why the power
funny,
rankings
dude.
exist.
Oh my
Like that,
gosh, bro.
Paul didn't do anything wrong. Paul just played a tournament, dropped out, he was hurt. Udisk is like, oh yeah, that checks out. Ricky came in 6th, and Paul was like 20 strokes behind him, but DNF, we'll jump him.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any
that's
freaking
silly.
sense.
That's
Like
very
explain
silly.
that
You
one
do
to me.
better, Udisk.
Udisk.
I love Udisk so much for everything except their world rankings.
Yeah, I don't understand. And when the world rankings came out, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. This is great.
Quickly did not make sense.
Quickly does not make sense. It's better to not play than to play bad. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's like the one part of it that really struggles.
Well, it also has too much history.
Too much.
Who's I
history.
doing? Corey Ellis to Aderhold Ezra.
Yeah.
Corey wins 5-4
See,
against him.
this is why we check these things, Hunter.
It didn't pass the gut check.
Dang, Ezra's going to get bounced again. I feel so bad. He's been playing so well this year.
He was in there for a minute or two.
He was. All right, put him in. Corey goes in.
Right.
I feel much better about that. Simon is on the rocks, though. I'll tell you that.
Should we go 8 or hold to Simon?
Yeah, let's do that because Simon
didn't play European Open.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
We do need to remember that.
Well, currently you just that
3
means
and
he jumped
2,
3 spots.
2 and 3. So Ezra's they're 3, 2 and 1 against each other.
Okay.
But Ezra just got a really good finish at a major.
It's close.
Let's go Simon to Corey.
It's very close. This is going to be a photo finish.
4 and 3. Simon wins.
I think Simon.
I'm going to keep Simon.
I think he's clinging to that spot.
I'm gonna
We'll keep
there.
the Simon fans happy. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah. All right. Calvin, Ricky, Gannon, Isaac, Eagle, Paul, AB, Proctor, Simon, Corey. That's your Grip Lock Top 10.
Heck yeah.
And that's the episode. Talk to you again next week.